DreAllDay.com.
Today's topic: why white America does not prop up athletes or entertainers. So just yesterday, I gave you an entire masterclass explaining to you the job titles and positions that black males often find themselves striving and aspiring to, and or find themselves in when we talk about the people who become our heroes, our celebrities, those who get looked up to. So those who get looked up to in our community. So today what I'm going to do, I'm going to juxtapose that position by explaining to you all why, of course, still generally speaking, you notice that white America doesn't do the same thing that black America does. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why that is, even though those people I mentioned in the previous episode are all very visible and very well known by everybody, no matter what color they are. But there seems to be a completely different approach that white America takes than black America. And again, I'm painting with a very broad brush here. Why is there such a big difference between one group and the other? I'm going to explain that here in general terms from not from the angle, because it can only be one. I can only be one. I can only be black. But from the angle of understanding why both sides do what they do. That's what I'm going to break down here today. And if I got something wrong, well, you can let me know. So what is the difference and why does that difference exist? Those are the two questions we're going to answer here today. So let's get right to it. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is why white America does not prop up athletes and entertainers. Number one, standards. Number one reason why white America does not prop up athletes and entertainers the way that black America props up athletes and entertainers, whether you're trying to be one or not, we can all agree that black America props up athletes and entertainers. You want to know how? Well, look at our political elections. We send athletes and entertainers to tell everyday black people who to vote for, which is ridiculous. And white America has certain standards that we don't have in black America. I'm not white, but I would bet that most white families, if you're white listening to this, you can tell me if I got this right or wrong. Most white people do not raise their kids telling them that they need to make it as athletes or entertainers as if there are no other options. Now, again, let me be clear and offer a caveat here. Not every black person is telling their kids that either. All right, not every black home is telling their kids you got to make it as an athlete or entertainer. It damn sure was not told to me. My parents were not trying to make me into an athlete. I chose to play sports. But had I not played at all, they wouldn't have cared. But are there black kids coming up thinking that based on where I'm from and based on my situation and based on who I have around me and based on my family's position, I need to make it as a rapper or an athlete or I ain't making it at all? Are there black people who come up thinking that? The answer is hell yes. Can we agree that there's a higher percentage of black males coming up thinking that way than there are white males coming up thinking that way? All right, that's the point that I'm making here. I think we all can agree the answer is yes. Even if you're white, you can agree to that. Even if that white kid grows up wanting to be an athlete or entertainer, they are both being told by adults around them and in seeing the examples of the adults around them, this is the white kid we're talking, that there are other ways to make it in life other than hitting the lottery of becoming some famous celebrity or famous athlete. White kids see themselves as being able to make it in a lot more ways than the average black kid sees himself as being able to make it. That's the point that I'm making here. Their standards are different because they see different outcomes, and because they see different outcomes, the standards are different because different outcomes are presented to them. They see different things, that they can see different possibilities for themselves. And again, I'm speaking generally. In the black community, we have accepted this widespread standard of becoming an athlete or a celebrity as this huge accomplishment that draws more attention and often puts that person who does make it in those spaces on a pedestal above others who do things like running successful small businesses that are otherwise not popular, or people who have good jobs that they climb the corporate ladder, or are just doing professional level things that don't make them famous, but are still by all measures successful, just not famous. We tend to pedestalize the athletes and entertainers much higher than we do those people. And again, you want to see an example of this, look at when we have political elections. Usually on the Democratic side, you see a whole bunch of athletes and entertainers being paraded out there to tell other black people that this is the person you should vote for, and that person is whoever the Democratic candidate happens to be. I've seen LeBron James, I've seen P. Diddy, I've seen Quavo from the Migos, I've seen Megan Thee Stallion, I've seen Beyonce, I've seen Cardi B, and I've seen a whole bunch of others who people's names I can't even recall right now in the moment, all put out there in front of mostly black people during a political campaign to tell you to go vote for the Democratic Party. And this is not a condemnation of the Democratic Party. We can do that on a different day. I've already done it on a different day. It's about Why are these people being a political election? There's only so much capital you have to spend to try to win votes. And the politicians, when they're trying to get the black vote, because black people are a significant block of the voting base. So if you can win the black vote, that can help you a lot. Kamala not being able to win enough of the black vote is part of the reason why she lost. Not the whole reason, but part of it. They say, all right, we got to get black people to vote for us. What do? Who will listen? Who will they listen to? Who has their ear? Who has black people's ear? And consistently for the last 20 years, the answer to that question has been, let's go get an athlete or an entertainer. Why does that not happen in the white community? Why don't you see some white tennis player or hockey player or basketball player or baseball player or swimmer or golfer being called up in front of white audiences and saying, hey, you need to vote for this Republican candidate? Why don't you see that? I'm not saying there hasn't been one ever, but not nearly as percentage-wise, not nearly as often as you see it on the black side. Why is this? Because of the standards. It's because of standards. Lawyers, doctors, solid professionals. You see, white people see these as options for themselves, and they don't pedestalize being an athlete over these other things. In the white community, they don't do it. Their standards are different. I would also go as far as to say that their standards are not only different, but higher. Different and higher. You're much more likely to make it as a doctor or a financial advisor than you are to make it as a basketball player or a rapper. Everyone understands this on a logical level. White America, the standards are set more towards the reality of this than it is in black America. And white America tends to appreciate those who follow these and end up as a lawyer or a doctor or a financial advisor. Then black America appreciates ours who end up making it in those spaces. We tend to, again, pedestalize the athlete or entertainer over that person just because they're famous or whatever other reason, because they made a lot of money or whatever it is that has black people thinking that this is the person we should listen to. LeBron James is going to tell us what we should do in terms of a social issue when the guy has no intellectual capital to offer. It doesn't make any sense, but this is what we do. And if I got it wrong, let me know. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is why white America does not prop up athletes and entertainers. And again, I'm speaking from my theoretical perspective, being that I'm not white. Number 2, the more widespread valuing of substance. I just touched on this a lot in the first point. I believe white America more values what I call substance than black America values what I'm calling substance. What does substance mean? It means having something within you that there's some meat on the bones. That's what substance means. It means, do you have some meat on the bones? Connected to what I just said in the previous point. To make it as a standard issue professional, meaning something that is not glamorous or prone to draw fame or celebrity to you, i.e. running a successful small business, moving up the corporate ladder to the C-suite, being the head of mergers and acquisitions, working in academia, being a lawyer, being a doctor, but not a famous one. This requires you to bring actual substance to the table. If you're going to make it to one of those positions and it's not based on fame, you got to have some actual substance. You got to actually be good at the job on some level, especially if you're white. I mean, we know about DEI, right? Okay, so if you're white, you make it to one of these levels, you better be really good. We're not even going to get into that. You got to bring some substance to the table. Intellectual and professional substance, such as knowing how to think, how to solve problems, how to engage and interact with other professionals who also have substance, and how to build a career doing all of these things. You got to have these if you're going to make it as a white person doing something, or actually going to make it as a person, period, doing something other than the fame jobs. You have to have these things. And as DEI disintegrates, as a black person, you got to have the same thing. Now, somebody may say, well, there are a lot more white people in these places than black people. Well, there are a couple of reasons for that. One, there are just more white people, period, vying for the jobs. Second, more white people trying to get the jobs. And third is because in the black community, these jobs are not as highly respected or looked up to or encouraged as they are in the white community, percentage based. Because we know there's a lot more white people than black people. So just on a percentage basis, it's much more prevalent for white people to be encouraged to go in this route than it is for black people to be. Again, just my theory. In the white community, this level of substance is more valued than it is in the black community. In the black community, we pedestalize celebrities, entertainers, and clowns. White people do not pedestalize celebrities, entertainers, and clowns. They can appreciate celebrities, entertainers, and clowns. They can, patronize celebrities, entertainers, and clowns. Their kids may like them. The kids may listen to the music. They may want to go to the games. They want to buy the jerseys or whatever it is that is going on. but they don't pedestalize these people. In the black community, we pedestalize celebrities, athletes, and entertainers, even when that celebrity, athlete, or entertainer is talking about something or doing something in an area in which they have no proven substance whatsoever. So when Kamala Harris did a campaign event in Houston, Texas, and she calls on Beyonce to come and speak for her, people pedestalize the fact that Beyonce was showing up. But who the fuck cares what Beyonce has to say about some everyday life situation? And in context, Beyonce was speaking about quote unquote reproductive freedom, i.e. your right to abort your baby, when Beyonce has given birth to 3 children. I don't think Beyonce's had any abortions. But she was the one who was called to speak on the subject, which makes no logical sense. On top of the fact that Kamala Harris was not going to win the state of Texas no matter what she did. But this is what they decided to do with their political capital. Oh, we got Beyonce. So that means, I guess, they're going to vote for Kamala Harris. Well, we saw how that turned out. The white community, again, may appreciate celebrities, entertainers, and clowns, but you never see them calling on their entertainers or celebrities, the white ones, telling white people who to vote for or how to feel about important social issues that affect the lives of everyday white people. And that's the way it should be in the black community, but it unfortunately is not. The things that affect the lives of everyday black people, that's most of you who are listening to this who are not famous. You're not an influencer. The things that affect your life on an everyday level, why the hell do you care what some rapper or some NBA player has to say about what you should think on that subject? Can you logically explain to me why that matters? And the answer is no, you cannot, because there's no logical explanation. You may have an emotional explanation for it, but you have no logical explanation because there isn't one. But in the white community, they understand this. The black community, we seem to not understand it because they do their research. The politicians do their research and they know who we're listening to. So when they get to decide who do we send in front of these people in order to get them to listen, they come to the conclusion that it must be a rapper or an entertainer. Whereas the white people say, or the people who are trying to reach the white people say, okay, in order to get these people's attention, we got to send a serious person with some actual substance. Much more often than they had to say that about the black community. Let's put it that way. Because white people can send some idiots up to the stage as well. But you don't see entertainers and celebrities telling white people about these important social issues. In the black community, we not only celebrate it, we demand it. And many people end up hearing the message of these clowns, and we just don't value the substance, because if we value substance, then guess what they would have to do? They would have to send substance. If we valued it and we demanded substance, we would get substance. We don't value and demand substance. So when Joe Biden runs for president in 2020, he did basically one interview with someone who was outside of the, let's say, political space or outside of the normal interview spots, and he did it with Cardi B. Did Cardi B ask him anything intellectually challenging, anything that was really challenging his positions? No. She asked him a bunch of prepared questions that he already had his prepared answers for, and there was a whole bunch of nonsense, and black people accepted this. They went along with it. And a bunch of people would say, I'm a hater for even calling this out right now. And I was called a hater for calling it out back then. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is why white America does not prop up athletes and entertainers the way black America does. Number 3, ownership is more highly valued than merely getting paid. I'm going to say that one again. In white America, ownership is more highly valued than merely getting paid. They are not the same thing. Person who gets paid is being paid by the person who owns the situation. Who is writing the check? Not the person who's receiving the check. That's the question you should always ask yourself. Who's writing the check? So you look up your favorite football or basketball player, you see how much money they're making in their contract. You should ask yourself, how many other players on that team? And if you add up all the salaries of all the players on the team, who has enough money to pay all of those salaries and still have money left over? That's the owner. That's the person who owns the team. That's the person you should be aiming to be, not the worker, but the owner. Because the worker, as soon as you stop working, the money stops, no matter how much you were making. This is the challenge with you being your most important asset, or your only asset, more accurately, is that when you stop working, your asset stops producing money. If you're a basketball player making a ton of money, as soon as you stop playing basketball, the money stops immediately. It's not like it slowly trickles off. No, it just stops. You stop playing, we stop paying. That's the way it works. But when you're the owner, let's say you have a player on your team who's really good and he plays for 10 years. You pay him for 10 years. He stops playing. You have to stop. You don't need to pay him anymore. All you're going to do is replace him with another player, another younger player who can give you another 10 years. And again, you'll pay that player for 10 years. They leave. You pay the next player for 10 years. And understand this entire time, you're making more money than you're spending. I mean, that's what business ownership is about. So if you have 10 players on your team making $1 million a piece and you pay each one of them their $1 million, you just spent $10 million, but the money you made on the back end from owning the team, let's say you made 20. So you're making a $10 million profit every year. You will gladly pay 10 guys $1 million a piece so you can make your $20 million revenue and a $10 million profit every year. I'm painting with a broad brush here, but this is generally the thinking that I want you all to understand. Ownership is more value than merely getting paid in the white community. A lot of people don't understand the difference between these two things, but as I just explained, getting paid means you're working for someone else or that someone else controls your means of production, such as if you play for the LA Lakers, somebody else controls the means of production, meaning if you're LeBron James, you can't just go put on an NBA game. All right, you got to sell the tickets, you got to hire the vendors, you got to make sure the floors are clean, you got to put the baskets up, you got to hire the referees, you got to get the TV rights deals, you got to get the cameras all set up. There's a whole lot of things you got to do outside of just playing basketball. But all LeBron James has to do when you're an athlete or entertainer is just show up and dance. Whatever your dancing may be. Shut up and dribble. All right, just play basketball. Whatever that thing is. Getting paid means you're working for someone else. They control the means of production. You get paid as long as you keep working. You stop working, you stop getting paid. The person who is the owner, they control the means of production. They control the process. They control the platform. Which means if a worker, i.e. the person getting paid, the athlete or an entertainer, if you decide you don't want to work there anymore, you decide you don't want to play there anymore, the owner can simply replace that worker with somebody else who is willing to do the work. So the owner is always making money because they have a process for making money. The process is what's making the money. The people are simply interchangeable. If I run a McDonald's, I don't care how great my fry guy is. If he quits because he needs to go back to school because summer's over, I hire a different fry guy. And as long as that fry guy can follow instructions like the previous fry guy, then the outcome is going to be pretty similar. Because the system is what I own, it's not the people. I don't own the people, I own the system. You just happen to work for my system that I own, so I'll pay you. And as soon as you leave, I'll replace you with somebody else. I worked at McDonald's when I was a senior in high school. It's been several years since I was a senior in high school. I guarantee you that McDonald's did not stop running when I stopped working there. Because they didn't need me. They just needed someone to put the ketchup and mustard on the cheeseburger. But it didn't have to be me. These days, they probably got a computer doing it. They should. So all the while, the person who owns the means of production is the one who never has to perform. They never had to do anything. They did the performing before they got to the point that they're at. Their ability to perform never plays a role in whether or not money is coming in, which is where you want to be ultimately. I told you this is a performance and results-based business, though. So some of you may be wondering, well, Dre, how can you say performance and results-based business, and now you're saying you want to get to the point where you don't need to perform? Well, you're still producing a result. The reason you perform is to produce a result. So if you can find a way to produce a result without even needing to perform, and you can get other people to do the performing for you, why not? That saves you a ton of time, a ton of energy, and is no longer a performance skill game. It's simply a system game. And if you're good at creating systems, then this is a great game for you. Now, if you're not good at creating systems and you don't want to learn, then you can just keep grinding until the wheels fall off, literally, and until your legs don't work, literally, and then we'll see what happens next with you. All the owner has to do is go find and hire another worker when one worker quits, and you can make money off the next worker, same way you were making money before. Now, yes, the worker is getting paid, but you are getting paid, and the owner's getting paid too, but the owner's getting paid off the efforts of other people, not just the efforts of themselves. Would you rather be getting $1 based off the efforts of 100 different people, or $100 based off your own efforts? I think most of you, some of you may choose the $100 based off your own efforts, and there's a place and time for that, but I'd rather make $100 getting $1 from 100 different people for several reasons. Number one, I am learning the system that allows me to make money off other people's efforts, so I want to know exactly how I did that. Number two, I can talk to those 100 people and find out what they know about what's happening on the ground, so I can get a better feel for the overall situation rather than just guessing as to what it is I know, because they're telling me directly. So you want to be in the position where you're getting paid off the efforts of others rather than just your own. Your favorite rapper or athlete, regardless of how much you admire them for how much money they allegedly make, ask yourself the question, how much is the person who pays them making? Your favorite rapper or athlete, when they tell you how much money they're making, ask them, who's the person who pays you? How much money are they making? That's a number that really needs to be looked at. Because they can afford to pay not only them, but all the rappers and all the other players on the team, as I explained to you earlier. That's what the owner can do. That's what it looks like when you own the means of production. The athletes can become rich. The owners who pay them are wealthy. And there is a difference. Doesn't matter how much money an athlete is getting paid. You are not wealthy if all your money is based on you doing the work to get the money. If all your money making is based on you doing the work, you're not wealthy, you're rich. And your richness will run out very quickly. Rich is a measure of time, not a measure of money. You become wealthy when you make your money based on owning assets that make money for you, whether you work or not. So if you make $1 billion a year working, you are not wealthy, you are rich. Why? Because as soon as you stop working, your $1 billion goes away and now your billion is being eaten into. The trade-off of ownership is that this is risky. If you want to be an owner, understand the risk of being an owner is that there is no guarantee that just because you start something and you own the means of production, that it will produce a great financial return for you. That is not a guarantee. It may be a time in which you are putting in a lot of work to build an infrastructure, but is not producing a return on investment yet. There's a chance that it never will when you're an owner. This is the risk that you take when you're an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur, starting or running a business entity while taking on greater than normal financial risk. That's the definition. This is why a lot of people would rather take the easier route of getting paid, because there's really no risk involved if you're not making an upfront investment. Let's say that. The risk happens later on, often too late for many people when they realize that they have no control over their own situation. All right. And again, this is why you need to be more aware of what's going on around you. And the bigger picture here of all these things I'm explaining about being a worker and being the owner is that in white America, they value ownership. Black people, we value ownership, but not as much as they do. On a percentage basis, I believe they value it more, which is why you see more of them looking for ways to be owners. Whereas in the black community, you see a lot of people looking for ways to be workers. I'd rather look for how to be an owner than look for how to be a worker. Let's recap today's class, which is why white America does not prop up athletes and entertainers. Number one, standards. I'm not white, but I would bet that most white families are not raising their kids to tell them that they need to make it as athletes or entertainers as if there is no other option. I don't think that's happening. Number two, the more widespread valuing of substance. I believe white America values substance more than black America does because our average is brought down by the raunchy, substanceless people and artists and entertainers that we see out here who are becoming more and more popular, often being pumped up behind our backs by these non-black people who are actually running the industries that these people are working in. So they are somewhat complicit in it. But if you're the black person and you took the money, I'm putting this on you. I don't want to hear any excuse about, well, they offered me the money. Mofo, you didn't have to take it. And point number three, ownership is more highly valued than merely getting paid. In the black community, people are always just trying to get paid. They're just trying to, quote unquote, get money. Well, if you own something, then the money is always coming in. You don't have to go get it. It's coming to you. You are accepting money because it's coming in continuously when you own assets that are revenue producing. And in white America, this is valued more and it is preached more than it is in black America. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen at all in black America. It's just, it doesn't happen as often, nor is it nearly as prevalent in the black community as it is in the white community. These are some of the differences that I'm seeing between what happens there and what happens here. All that said, folks, work on your game university for white people too and black people. You can join our full program and have me as your direct personal coach. You also have the option of joining our inner circle group coaching program. Both of those options you'll see and have detailed for you at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Link is down in the description. Work on your game. Dre all